Who actually won last night's debate? It's difficult to tell because for every poll we have with an overwhelming majority saying that Bernie Sanders had a massive win, you have a headline on a newspaper, on our website, saying, no, it was Hillary Clinton's night. She truly shined all last night. And we can see this disparity playing out even on individual websites. So let's bring up this first graphic. This was put together by the Daily Merge Twitter account. And it's showing for these three sources, CNN, Time, and Slate, they all have polls, and the polls all overwhelmingly show that Bernie Sanders was the winner, according to the people actually watching. But that didn't stop them from pushing the idea that, no, it was her confidence sweep. Hillary Clinton won. Very straightforward. Huffington Post, I hear she leaned in. And so she won. Damn the viewers. Who cares what the people think? We're going to continue with our message. We actually put that headline up 2 hours before the debate.
Yeah. So I'm going to go off on this in a second. But first, let's acknowledge how shocking the disparity is. And we know that those polls are not scientific. They're just polls on their website. We're aware of that. But if everybody on your website says, hey, 81% of the people on CNN's website says Bernie Sanders won, don't you feel even a little awkward? Like,
yeah.
You know, don't you even want to at least...
viewers. They're on your site.
Wouldn't you at least want to note it? Like, oftentimes on the TYT app, we'll lose a poll. Like, I'll say, this is my opinion, and then our viewers will say the opposite, and I'll say, oh, that's interesting. I'll note it, right? Yeah. Like, hey, isn't that interesting, right? But no, like, Hillary wins, confident Hillary, sweep for Hillary.
Yeah. Go away, Bernie.
Like, aren't you embarrassed? Aren't you embarrassed? I mean,
how are they not?
Slate says Hillary Clinton won, and right next to it is the poll that says Bernie Sanders won by a gigantic margin, 74%. This, I haven't even gotten angry yet.
Yeah.
Let John give you more of the facts.
I looked to see if there was a tiny little asterisk that then said, we actually don't know what one means. But they didn't actually have that there. How the hell? So Alternate had a great breakdown of how overwhelming the sheer number of polls were, and I went and actually added in the actual results for each one. So they say Sanders won the CNN focus group, the Fusion focus group 8-3, and the Fox News focus group. In the latter, he even converted several Hillary supporters. He won the Slate online poll 70 to Hillary's 13, CNN Time online poll 57 to Hillary's 11, in which Webb got 30. She came in third on the CNN Time poll. 9 News Colorado, Bernie Sanders got 11,000 votes to her 2.5 thousand. On the Street Online poll, Bernie won. The Fox 5 poll, Bernie won 78% to 15%. Even on the Drudge report, he won 54% to her 9%, with Webb again coming in second with 25%. And so from the conservative Drudge poll to the liberal Daily Kos online poll, 56% to 38%. So she not only did not win, in some cases, she came in third.
So there was not a single poll that didn't have Bernie Sanders winning by at least an 18-point margin.
And those were outliers. Outliers, the 18%.
Yet every single one of those sites declared Hillary Clinton clear winner. Right? All right, so drop it. No, these DC pundits are unbearable. You know part of the reason why they declare Hillary Clinton the winner? Because they want to suck up to her, because that will give them access to her when she's president. And then they'll have an exclusive with the president, and they'll be so special, and that'll make their careers, among many other reasons. But really, the main thing is groupthink. Like, oh yeah, Hillary's the winner, right? Hillary's the best, right? Oh, she was the front runner. We always said she was the front runner. She's losing in Iowa and New Hampshire. She got mauled in our own polls, but she's the winner. She's the winner. Shut up, everybody. Bernie Sanders is not electable. He's a kook. He's a weirdo. He's got weird hair. No way. We hate him. We hate him. Now, let me read you some tweets. Ryan Lizza writes, Hillary Clinton won because all of her opponents are terrible. What are you talking? But the people disagree. Isn't it a sad day for you that we actually do voting from the people and not from your loser pundit asses in Washington, D.C.? Alec McGillis responds to Ryan Lizza on Twitter and says, exactly. It's time for this to be admitted and to stop pretending there's a race. How can you say that? He's winning by such a large margin in New Hampshire. He's winning by most polls in Iowa. If anyone else was winning in the first two states, they'd be like, oh my God, the race might be over on his side because the national polls move after Iowa and New Hampshire. Joe Lieberman was leading in the national polls in 2008.
You mean President Lieberman?
And then he came in 5th and called it Joe Mentum and said he was in 3rd. Okay, I mean, do you not know anything about politics? Okay, I can keep going. Here's Michael Cohen. Bernie Sanders is all piss and vinegar. Too much anger. You want to see too much anger? Stay tuned. Okay, too much rancor. Works as a protest candidate, but not as a national candidate. No, these DC guys are, it's hard not to hate them, okay? I know now I'm really getting to a point. Before I was like dismissive of them, a little disdainful of them, but their smug attitude that is so pro-establishment. Don't overturn the apple cart. Oh, we love the apple cart. The establishment is great. The system is great. This Bernie Sanders is a challenge. We hate Bernie Sanders. We hate him. Piss and vinegar. No, you're the angry one. You don't know it. And if you ask them, they'd be shocked by this reaction. They'd be like, what do you mean? What do you mean? We're all great people. And in our cocktail party, we all played patty cakes and slapped each other in the ass and decided Hillary was going to win. The people on the polls. No, we have declared that Bernie has no chance. Well, it's a sad day for you that in the real world, that's not what the people on your websites think. That's not what the voters think. That's not what the people in Iowa and New Hampshire think. So I can't wait for you to be wrong.
Yeah.
So the DC pundits are useless. Okay, one last thing about that. Now, even if you thought Hillary Clinton did a little bit better job in the debate, and can you think that? Of course you can think that, right? We had a disparity of opinions within a spectrum of opinion when we covered the debate live here with our 4 different hosts, right? And I actually thought she did a pretty good job. I would have given her 7.5. Really fairly solid job. There was a couple of pretty weak moments. I thought she lagged in the middle, but I don't think she did badly. And I thought Bernie Sanders did a little better in terms of style, substance, 8.5. So it's not like I thought like he blew her away or he broke her back or anything like that. But I didn't substitute my opinion for the opinion of all the people watching. These people declared her the winner as if it wasn't even close. And when faced with what actual human beings thought, they thought, no, please, I do declare, we know much better in Washington than the people do. Right?
And then on CNN,
and that's bullshit. You don't know better than the people.
Well, apparently they do, because CNN actually deleted their poll. They got rid of it. They didn't like the fact that Bernie Sanders was winning by, he had 80 points to her, whatever, 9-11.
That's amazing.
Oh, that's inconvenient. Delete.
Okay, look at what the establishment does. Larry Lessig, you want to talk about getting money out of politics? All that money comes to TV. We're not interested in that conversation. CNN didn't ask a single question about that. They excluded Larry Lessig from the polling, so he conveniently couldn't get the required 1% in the polls. He was getting the 1% until they took his name out, right? And then when it comes to Bernie Sanders, no. Our narrative is that Hillary Clinton won, and she will always win, and she will keep the system exactly as it is, so we can keep making millions and billions of dollars here. Yeah. So if our own poll says Bernie Sanders won by 81%, what poll? I don't know what you're talking about.
What's the poll?
What poll? What's the poll, right? And by the way, this is not the first time CNN has done this. They did the same thing on the public option during a discussion of the Affordable Care Act. The public option, they said, is not really supported by anyone. That's what their anchors were saying. They did their own poll. 74% of the country was in favor of the public option. They're like, what poll? I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. No, the American people, both on the left and right, are against.
Yeah. Yeah, when we're talking about this
and
poll,
that was a scientific poll, by the way.
CNN had a second poll. They polled 3 or 4 journalists that work for them that want to interview Hillary Clinton. They all thought she won, so I think that that's the important poll. Yeah, journalism is not just writing what you desperately want to be true because you don't want to deal with a challenge to Hillary Clinton over the course of a campaign. That's not what journalism is. And don't do the poll then. Don't put the poll on your website if you don't care what the people think. And especially if it's not just one website, it's so many across a huge range of different websites and outlets. It's clear. Now, they may not care about Glass-Steagall. They may not care about what happens in Syria, but clearly their viewers do. And if you don't care about what they think, then why the hell are you involved in this business, where it is a dialogue between you and the people that are supposedly getting their news from you?
But you know what? I think that they have overstepped to such a large degree that all these guys declaring Clinton the winner is going to be counterproductive. It's going to backfire. I think that Bernie Sanders supporters, if anything, first of all, get a lot more animated about it, right? And whether they show that animation in how much they're giving to the campaign, how much they're supporting him, how much they come out, how much more likely it is for them to vote. but also for the people in the middle ground. Remember, this was not viewed by just a few people in the base. This was viewed by 15 million people.
Yeah.
And when the pundits all come out and tell you, no, don't believe your lying eyes, believe me, I do declare Hillary the winner, right? I think that maybe the viewers start to go, maybe you guys are full of shit. Because that's not how we saw it at all.